Andor Season 2 is back with the next 3-episode release, and my god, we have just witnessed some of the best television this decade so far. We knew it was coming, but one of the biggest and most significant events in Star Wars lore was just depicted on screen, and in the most emotionally devastating way possible. I can't believe they did a lot of what happened in the 2 to 3 hours of television that we just got the other night, and yet, here we are. To everyone watching, what was your favorite moment of this third 3-episode arc, and which episode was your favorite? Let me know in the comments as we run through this video. Honestly, I'm not wasting any time. I just want to jump right into it, as I want to start with the Ghorman Massacre. Again, I want to make it clear how fucking happy I am to see that the main event that is the massacre, the one that spawned a bigger rebellion that we see in the original trilogy, was done so perfectly. The lead up to the event and occurrence of it took place in the first 2 episodes, and overall, it's one of the most tension-filled thrill rides I have ever been on when watching television, no matter if it's Star Wars or any other show that I've seen. And yet, the craziest aspect of it all is that we didn't even see the full thing. We only saw the first 2 acts of it. Act 1 was the setup by the Empire and the Ghorman front to be placed in their positions, and then Act 2 was the actual commencement of it. Act 3 is what we didn't see, which is where the Empire goes planet-wide, massacring everyone else in their way in order to clear enough of a path to drill inside the planet and get what they came for. The third act of the massacre is only mentioned as much by other characters based on how many people had died in it, and yet that is enough to show just how devastating it was. It wasn't just a genocide for the Ghorman people, but it was also a genocide for the very idea that people will continue to think the Empire is sane and right. I appreciate that the episodes didn't just take us through the one side of the conflict, but through all of them by the Empire and the Ghorman people alike. We see the Ghormans preparing for the inevitable based on the rumors that they knew that the Empire is bringing in mining equipment to drill into the planet. We know the Empire prepared for this exact thing to happen as well by also bringing in some people to help simulate what would happen. By far, the best thing to come out of that was the character Captain K-2SO. This dude right here, now after only 2 episodes, has become one of the most terrifying Imperials, up there with the likes of guys like Krennic, Tarkin, and so on. His mannerisms say a lot, but his initiative and ability to assess situations makes him all the more terrifying. It makes you truly wonder how many other terrible events this dude was a part of in helping to create, whether they are genocides or something else like an assassination. He just had a presence to him that outweighed every other Imperial involved in this massacre, even Dedra. Dedra was seemingly very hesitant on doing this, but still went through with it, only to then realize the effects it had on her only after it was done, as we see within the one scene of her breaking down and not being able to control her emotions. Showing the human side of an Imperial like that we as an audience are not supposed to like is certainly an interesting choice, but I commend it. Just being able to see everyone's perspective on this event really shaped how I also felt emotionally taking it in. Just watching the chaos of seeing all these innocent people be cut down for absolutely nothing by the Empire pushing their way into stealing their way of life is truly heartbreaking. Even before the massacre begins, and you see the peaceful protest efforts in place, you feel so much for these people just trying to defend their home. When Wilmon's new girlfriend was on the radio calling out for help, that is the moment when I started to cry, because it would also cut to scenes of some of the people who we have met in the gore starting to give up and lose, while also intercutting with shots of Cassian crying as he is one of the only people to escape and get off the planet. I almost broke just as much when the main gore leader of the front, Rylance, was getting emotional to Syril about what they came to steal. You feel so much for a man that has done nothing wrong, and the actor expressed it all so well. That one scene alone is enough to make an entire civilization cry. Truly one of the best episodes of television ever put to screen, and absolutely one of the best filmed episodes in the series. series. Shout out to every single one of the creatives behind the scenes. They killed it here. Tony, Dan, and John Gilroy are a trio of brothers who have worked on this show, and they all deserve massive praise. They here, with these 3 episodes, proved enough that when Star Wars media is incredible in quality, nothing touches it, and I am thankful for the fact that Andor is a part of my generation's time with this franchise that I love so dearly. This week also saw the loss of another character with Syril. He was this week's casualty amongst the main cast of characters, like how he had Brasso with the first week and Cinta with the second week. He died by fighting Cassian during the massacre in the main square where it started, and their scenes together in those moments were brutal and violent, especially as we see how Syril dies by taking a blaster bolt to the head, making that the 3rd time in this entire Andor show that someone has died that way. His loss was met with us, the audience, coming back around to seeing a potential redemption arc from him. I don't think that redemption arc fully got there, but I think we got just enough to where that, even for me, was the other part of the episode that made me cry, which is when we see his mom's reaction to the news of the massacre. Again, we are not supposed to like his mom, but in that moment, I couldn't help but show my emotions for her loss. It's almost like in that moment, I was able to completely take away all the baggage that I would have had with that character previously and just let the good parts of him come out for why I'm getting emotional about his death. I also admit that even within the same episode, he was being very aggressive and physical on Dedra to the point where he almost choked her out, and granted, I think Dedra is a horrible person. I don't necessarily know if I would have done something like that in the moment, even though he probably needed to just to get that information out of her about what the Empire was there to do. At that point, it was too late, and I feel like him grabbing that information was all he really needed in the moment, and there was no time for him to warn any of the people in the town square because they were dead already. His death will certainly reign true for being very morally gray on the side of being someone who was all for upholding the rule of law, but was certainly not for anything the Empire was trying to do with that specific event of a genocide to take a planet's resources. In the moments that take place after his death, we start to follow back up with Cassian as he is trying to escape with Wilmon and any of the rest of the fleeing Ghor people who were around the town square. This is carried by them fleeing away, especially from the KX series droids that Captain Kaido released on the people in the town square, and have now pushed everyone out even further because they are basically impenetrable machines that can't be stopped. Even I, in certain moments, was taken aback by just how ruthless and violent they made these droids, throwing people all over the place and kicking barriers down with the full force of their power is terrifying. Them chasing down the Ghor people was a first showing of Act 3 of the massacre, where once they were able to push everyone out of the main circle where the conflict started, that would give the Empire the ability to go out and do whatever they wanted. The KX droids are all voice-propped command as well, so basically any and all that were sent out were not going to be controlled by any of the Imperials because they were just going to keep killing. No one was going to be there to stop them regardless of what side you were on. It makes you really depressed that that would be how things would have gone about, where you can't stop these things, and that is how you die for some of these people still left out there running away. Fortunately, the only way to stop them is by running them over with a giant vehicle, and that is how we get the moment of Cassian meeting K-2SO. Obviously, he doesn't meet him in the exact moment, but this is the beginning of that relationship between him and the droid as we saw in Rogue One. Now, I haven't read the comic that details their first meeting, but this is apparently a retcon, and personally speaking, I don't really have an attachment to whether I like or dislike how this was done. I could probably take either or, but in my honest opinion, I actually think this character needed to be introduced like last week. At this point, it feels like it's a little too late to really truly get us invested in them, but for all we know, the last 3 episodes do help that, but I digress. I'm just hoping that we get some good back and forth between Cassian and K-2SO in the next week. As we transition over to the after effects of the Ghorman Massacre, we now get to the final part within episode 3 of this arc, where we see Mon Mothma give her speech denouncing the Ghorman Massacre, calling it a genocide, and calling Emperor Palpatine a monster for all to hear and see. This was pretty much all of what episode 3 was about, and we see it from all sides, from hers and then the groups of people trying to stop her and get her out. The Empire is steadfast on making sure her speech does not get out publicly, and in some of the funniest ways possible, we see that they are trying their hardest, but yet fail so brilliantly. In fairness, they definitely were not expecting her to do the speech because they were unaware of the fact that she stayed in the Senate House the entire night preparing her speech. So there is an element of chaos in the Empire's plan without them being able to know fully of what's going on. Cassian, Luthen, and all of them came much more prepared, and shockingly were able to get her out in time. Regarding her speech, I will admit I didn't really feed much into the beginning of it until the end came around where the tensions started to ramp up, and I do appreciate that they utilized Nicholas Brittle's eulogy track for the background. It's music that is the same music that is used during Marva's speech on Ferrix during her funeral. It's a nice touch thematically to two speeches that are basically the same in their intentions and their words, but said for different reasons based on the events that surround them. In any case, they both signify that someone had to stand up to the Empire regarding their atrocities. By far the best line that I have seen a lot of people talk about online that was said within that speech is this: "The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil." Plaster that shit on a wall everywhere you go, especially when you compare that to where we are seeing things go nowadays in real life, but I won't go too much into that. This speech seemingly also doesn't retcon the one that she gave in Rebels either, but I will admit, it certainly makes that particular scene in the show come out way more now that we have Andor to back it up, so good on the Gilroy brothers for making sure that it hit that way when they structured how this was all going to play out. Let's talk about the other heartbreaking thing that happened in this arc, the tragic departure of Bix Leaving, played by the absolutely wonderful Adria Arjona. Aside from the fact that she is one of my celebrity crushes, I have to put that all aside and just say here with my chest that she is also just an incredible actress, plain and simple, end of story. She absolutely nailed what seems like the last time we are going to see her character on screen. A character so conflicted by the grounds that she stands on to where she has to choose the man she loves or the cause that she is so invested in, which is of course the rebellion. This first started with her forcing Cassian to meet with a Force healer tending to other troops. She tells him of something good that she feels within inside of him, but doesn't fully tell him the truth, only to tell Bix the full truth. That is sprouted out of something that we as fans already know is coming, which is all the stuff relating to Rogue One. In the moment of this Force healer seeing the future of his path with regards to Rogue One, not only makes me glad that they added it in, but as a fan in general of Rogue One, where that is my favorite Star Wars movie, I love that the Gilroys and creatives made a scene like this here to help create that bridge to the movie. Up until now, the events of Rogue One certainly have been very subtle to be included in the narrative, but at this point, with how close we are to it, it just makes sense that they would start doing it now. It's a great way to write in an emotional character connection between both Cassian and Bix that makes her departure from the show a little bit more heartbreaking than if they were just here to kill her on screen. I think both ways would be very heartbreaking on their own, but there is something about the way they did it here that is so much more powerful, especially when you see in her speech that she tells him once everything is over, she will come and find him. Oh, if only that were true, to where we would see what actually happens, but as we know, that is not the case with the events of Rogue One. Finally, now that we are officially 1 week away from the finale of this great show, we do have to discuss what to expect within the final 3-episode arc. Now, personally speaking, I honestly don't know how you could up what we just got with this new one, but I have a feeling that next week is going to be a lot more personal for these characters that are still alive. I'll do this by showing you all shots in the trailers and how marketing has not shown us a bunch of stuff yet. We have an image of Cassian walking down the runways of the bases on Yavin 4, a shot of our boy Saw Gerrera in his base outside of Jedha City during the part of Rogue One where the city and planet gets obliterated by the Death Star. We have a shot of Luthen in what looks like he is cooking up a meal, a back shot of Krennic looking out at the Death Star with its dish missing to again show that it is right before the moment in Rogue One where he shows it off to Tarkin. We have this shot of Kleya getting physical with Cassian for a reason that feels very unlike her, a shot of what looks like a specialized squad of Imperial Commando operatives with Officer Hurt of the ISB behind them, a shot of Melshi in a gunfight with no context as to what the fight is about or where it is, a shot inside of the apartment on Coruscant that our main rebels have been held up in for the entirety of the season where an explosion goes off, sending Cassian and someone else flying. As you can tell, it's Cassian because of the blaster on the bottom of the picture. A shot of the control panel that is under the giant table inside of that workshop area of of Luthen's store that seemingly looks like it is in a self-destruct sequence, and finally, we have this funny shot of K2 throwing one of those Imperial operatives over a ledge. So basically, next week is going to be all about the Death Star and our characters' stories coming to an end because maybe the Empire is going to find them out. So I'm curious to know what you all predict will happen next week, so definitely let me know in the comments. And there you have it. That is my commentary and analysis of Week 3 of Andor Season 2. What do you all think of my analysis of it? Leave your comments down below, and please be respectful if you disagree with anything I said in my analysis. Thank you all for stopping by my channel. If you want to see more moving forward from me with regards to film and television, and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new here, and turn on that notification bell. I'm trying to build a community on here, and your support would be appreciated. That's a wrap, folks. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all next week for the finale of Andor.